studio.
You're within a block or two of the, or even 2 miles of the studio. If you could order us a vegan pizza, that's no cheese, if they have soy cheese, that's okay, mushroom and onions.
This reminds me of growing up in the St. Louis area listening to KDNA, which is was the community station there, and there were a couple people that would do that all the time. It was the morning show people though, and they wanted coffee and donuts. So I don't know if we have people that are doing that. I'm not hungry yet. I'm gonna go eat pasta salad and jazz later. So.
You speak for yourself.
Okay.
Order that pizza.
Yeah. Well, if we're not gonna, no, we're gonna go on. We're gonna go on and hear a little bit of this track, Planet Soup. I was just asserting my, prerogative here.
I like to assert my belly.
Okay, bust down something about the economic situation in Iraq, and then we're going to go into something else that you've been working on for quite a while, the academic military industrial complex, let's call it. You mentioned that even today, if you're working, I guess it averages out that the average salary in Iraq for Iraqi is $2 a day, or lower, I guess. Something like that.
The thing that was almost unbelievable is that with the destruction of the infrastructure, which is against the Stockholm Convention, there was no jobs, there was nothing to do. There were people, architects and engineers, who helped out with these water treatment places I talked about. And then we found out that a good salary was $65 a month. And so when we came in with our American dollars, these restaurant owners just almost knocked people over trying to get to us to bring us into the restaurant. $1 will get you 30.
Yeah, that was in 2004.
Yes.
Again, yeah. You wanted to speak about New Orleans. We'll do that in the last 15 minutes. Amy Goodman's had Raheem on a fair amount, so we'll talk about him as well, common ground. But I don't know, maybe just some other vignettes. You met a filmmaker who was trying to make a film called Underdeveloped. Maybe I'll just get you back into talking about your trip a little bit more before we segue into something else.
I couldn't believe it. They took us to an art opening. And here we are in a war zone, and everything's blown to hell and back. And here are these armed guards at the entrance to an art opening. And at the art opening, we met some guy that looked like an Arab version of John Lennon. And he told us that he was making a film called Undeveloped, and it was going to be made with film they found around the country because they couldn't get any new film in. And he was working on that really hard. And I hope that someday it comes out. But a lot of artists, a lot of poets, a lot of book writers.
Yeah, vibrant art scene. I mean, we're not going to make a brief for Saddam Hussein. I was wondering whether we were going to talk about this, but it seems like it's a natural thing. You mentioned women's rights in the Arab world. Iraq was widely known as being secular and open to women's rights, and the new regime is less so. There's an untold aspect, which is labor rights. Iraq under Hussein, for all of his foibles and all the caveats you want to make, had deals, labor deals, sort of ILO, International Labor Organization, compliant negotiating deals with like the Philippines and Sri Lanka, whereas Saudi Arabia has the most abusive treatment of labor of these underlings, these subalterns, whatever you want to call them, that you can imagine in the world. Like if you're going to be a maid in a Saudi household, or you're going to service everyone that wants that. So it's pretty amazing. And the further irony is that the U.S. Contractors and military are abusing these workers in much the same way. There was a groundbreaking story about Nepalese being sort of hijacked into Iraq. The contractors we hear about a lot are the Blackwater and the people that carry the guns, but the low-wage third world people that are being abused in Iraq. Here, I told you you'd have to stop me.
Okay.
My flaw in interviewing is that I just keep going.
It was so odd because again, we're all TV babies, and I didn't know whether I was going to get to Baghdad and was going to be in a burqa and I thought at least women would be isolated. And here we met the head of the union, one of the unions, in Baghdad, and she was a woman in Western dress. And we met a lot of women who were in charge of, like, the organization Occupation Watch, and they have a rich labor history. And what Saddam was trying to do, besides kill everybody, what Saddam was trying to do is bring them, the Iraqi people, into the 21st century. And so he was trying to get away from a lot of things that had kept them in the Dark Ages. And one of them was women's rights. And it was just phenomenal. When before, you know, you would be declared, you know, a heretic and have your hand chopped off. And so it's he was really trying to bring people into the modern era. Now, the intelligentsia were so upset about this that they started dressing in religious garb as a protest against him destroying their religion.
Okay. Well, I was thinking of Afghanistan and what the people, women that didn't wear the burqas would get acid thrown in their face by one of the U.S. Mujahideen, Bakhtiar, something like that. I'm forgetting it now. He's actually gone over to Taliban now, so changing alliances. But we're not here to talk about Afghanistan. In fact, I think we should probably segue. I did sort of mention that you, in the context of protesting the lack of clean water in Iraq, you found an interesting way to do that. Why don't you tell us about that and what you've been doing in the major educational institution in Pittsburgh?
At Carnegie Mellon University, that university happens to be the 6th largest military contractor in the country, and they are involved in
University.
Yes, the university is involved. This is a military contractor. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of military contracts, from software engineering to literally building prototypes for the killer robots. And so we've been there since 1984 with the groundbreaking. The building finally opened in '87 and have been protesting that since. And a lot of civil disobedience, a lot of creative actions, you know, some jail time, and again trying to creatively express our outrage instead of marching around in a circle saying 1, 2, 3, 4, trying to figure out what rhymes with that. And so we showed up at SEI Nagasaki Day with hundreds and hundreds of gallons of water in 5-gallon containers. And the police said, you are not walking up these steps. And I said, I'm going to. They said, then we're going to arrest you. And they said, that's great. And they go, do you want to get arrested? I said, sure, it would be my badge of courage, and I don't have to do dishes. And the guy got real mad knowing that I was going to walk up the steps, and he tore down all the police tape, and we went to the top of the steps and poured one bucket at a time down the steps. A video of this is on the website. One bucket at a time, one bucket at a time. It was very dramatic and very cleansing.
When did they eventually bust you? Did they not?
They didn't, because they were ordered not to arrest me, even if I ran up the steps with a flaming motorcycle, because it took them 4 years to determine that every time they busted me, that there was a phenomenal amount of media coverage.
Yeah, that's why you got to get busted, I guess, these days.
Sure. Then you could defrost your refrigerator and go away for a while.
It's a great tradition of, I have not been arrested in political dispute, so I guess I should probably do that sometime.